Hall of Fame scout and former VP of player personnel for the Cowboys, Gil Brandt, tweeted out yesterday, quote, had a long talk with Dak Prescott yesterday out in Frisco. He expects to be out there when the Cowboys open the season. I think it would take a lot to keep him from playing, just not sure he'll be at 100%. Season tilts on his health. Agree with that. Shannon, what does this tell you?
If it tells me what I knew. I mean, you don't normally have an injury that says, okay, 2 or 3 days, we're going to shut Dak down and he'll be back throwing. Skip, we're almost a month in. And now it's going to go from 2 or 3 days. They're talking about he expects to play September 9th? Or it's nothing to be alarmed about. It was that when they told me there's nothing to be alarmed about, I should be alarmed. Troy Aikman said at the Hall of Fame, he said, you know what, this injury is more serious. I believe this injury is more serious than they're letting on. Skip, you don't normally consult outside a baseball, the Texas Rangers.
And the Yankees.
Hold on. Really? I mean, you've seen some pretty graphic injuries. Football as a collision sport is not a contact sport. So you've seen some pretty gruesome injuries. So that kind of gave me a little red, like, hold on. He got an injury that's a baseball player? This is not something that, so we should keep your antenna up. So I'm going to pay attention to this. Oh, yeah, he'll be back in a couple of days. Skip, it's been 3 weeks and he ain't back. And now he expects to play, but possibly won't be 100%. How we go from missing 2 to 3 days and now we are September 9th and he might not even be 100%?
With what kind of injury? Help me out. What is this?
Look, they should have just been forthcoming. Like, look, Dak has an injury. We're going to shut him down. We're going to see when we're going to shut him down. This thing is day to day. Don't you think people are going to get concerned? Like, hold on, you said it was 2 to 3 days. We 2 to 3 weeks in and he ain't out there throwing. And he can't throw with any velocity. So, yeah, I think they should be concerned. I think Dak is concerned because there's a reason why you got a second MRI. Because Dak said this thing is not progressing like you told me that it was. You said 2 to 3 days. You get an injury, Skip, they give you a timeline. Okay, I'm at that timeline and something's not going right. What's going on? You told me 2 to 3 days. Why am I still not being able to throw the football 2 weeks later? You are concerned. I can see it on your face.
I am horrified because I got at least 5 cases.
You sure do.
On the Cowboys just winning the least.
Yes.
And I believe with all my heart and soul, the Cowboys are better than Washington and the Giants, and especially the Cry Eagle Cry.
Not without Dak, y'all not.
Not without Dak. I have no idea what's going on, but I don't like it because it has come to this. It has come to a report, albeit from Gil Brandt, that he says not sure he'll be 100% on September the 9th, a Thursday night at Tampa or Tampa Bay against the defending champs, Tom Brady, and that offense that I think will be the best in the league, and against a defense that at the end of the year last year was the hottest defense in the National Football League.
Skip, but didn't they play that preseason game August 5th? The preseason game.
The Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you talk about September 9th, Skip, that's 1, 2, 3. Skip, that's almost 5 weeks.
Okay, now for the second irony here. For our viewers who don't know this, Gil Brandt once upon a time was considered the draft master of the Dallas Cowboys. And through the 1960s and 70s, he made Tom Landry. I'm telling you, he made him because he was the only one in the league focused upon drafting by actually going out and doing the legwork required to finding in the weeds the Thomas Hollywood Hendersons at Langston College.
Rayfield right out of Fort Valley State.
There you go. And he just ran rings around the NFL, most of which at that point would draft players out of the Street and Smith College magazine. Oh, he sounds pretty good. We should take him in the first round, right?
He the one that put together all the 40s and the shuttles and the one that he did all that.
He forced the hand of every other team to actually start spending money on a scouting department.
You're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
But as he got to the 1980s, Gil had to try to uphold his genius label by reaching farther and farther for the next Hollywood Henderson or Rayfield Wright, and he started to swing and miss. Too Tall's another great one. Swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss. So the same draft master who made Tom Landry flat out broke Tom Landry. through the 1980s, it got worse and worse. And if you go look at their drafts, it's just like bust, bust, bust. I didn't want to call their names because I knew them all and I liked a lot of them, but they just couldn't play.
Yeah, the 60 and 70 draft, they're littered with Hall of Famers.
Oh, my God. I mean, it went all the way to
Randy White and all those guys.
There was a dirty dozen draft of 75. It's just loaded. You just went 12 deep and you hit on every one of them. They all made the team and they all helped carry the team to the Super Bowl. Okay, so that was the same Gil Brandt who, the day Jerry Jones took over, he decided the first man he's going to fire at what was then called Valley Ranch was Gil Brandt.
Right.
And he fired him. He had the security guards go get Gil Brandt and escort him out into the parking lot to his car because Jerry knew full well, because everyone told him, Gil's turned into just a caricature of himself, like a parody of himself.
Right.
And so that's the same Gil Brandt who I guess it was yesterday, was at Frisco, at the Star, at the facility, sitting down one-on-one with Dak Prescott, with Jerry obviously blessing that, but now Jerry and Gil are both side by side in the Hall of Fame.
As a matter of fact, Jerry Jones was Gil's presenter.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a good one. So they came full circle.
They did.
It's almost like KD and Draymond. I guess they made up after everything that happened. But the point is, Gil Brandt got an audience with Dak Prescott.
Right.
And the audience says that I'm not sure he'll be 100%.
Right.
You're kidding me. So once again, I ask, what is this injury? Because I've never, ever heard of it. I've been doing this for the longest time. In all my years, dating back to the 1970s, covering Don Shula's Dolphins in Miami, I've never heard of a quarterback with a strained or torn muscle in his arm in training camp from throwing a football. It just doesn't happen.
It's like his last, so I guess it's kind of like,
under the shoulder a little bit. And you brought up the Elway injury. The only other throwing injury I know of is the biceps tendon. And both Elway and Favre had it. The biceps tendon attaches at the elbow and it attaches in the shoulder. And I tore mine at the elbow lifting weights, but from overthrowing with too much velocity for too long, it will fray and start to tear up here. But you know how you can fix it? You just go in and cut it because you don't need it to throw. So both of them had the reverse surgery where you actually went in and just snipped it and let it rolls up like a window shade all the way down to your elbow. And then later, after you retire, if you really want to go in and fix it, you can. And I don't know if either one of them did.
No, Johnny get it fixed because mainly, Skip, people get it fixed for aesthetic purposes. You see a lot of times bodybuilders will have it.
Then you got to have it.
For aesthetic purpose. But John's like...
And I can tell you, the only thing you can't do when it's torn is you can't open a door because you have no control over this, right? So, but the point is, that's the only throwing injury I have ever heard of a quarterback suffer. So how did my quarterback, coming off a career-threatening ankle surgery that required a second surgery, a wishbone scar, as we saw in episode 1 of Hard Knocks, how is it that he goes out and winds up with an injury that's unheard of? How is it that they had to go to the Rangers and the Yankees baseball doctors to say, how did you guys fix this?
I not only went to them, I went to a lot of other places too. Because instead of just like, oh, he'll be here, Skip, they should have had Dak on Jerry's plane and on every foremost authority, on an arm, on a shoulder, on any kind of muscle. Dak should have been seeing it.
Okay, so my biggest issue with this is simply repetitions. He made it only until the 5th game last year. And then that happened against the Giants at home. And he has had no reps under fire. No real reps, except, he didn't even go against the Rams. Remember, they had the joint practice.
The first day he had to come out.
So he hasn't even gone through a padded practice. So you can't even test out your psyche about your ankle, like, is it going to be okay? Because Kurt Warner was saying last night on NFL Network, especially coming off an injury in a preseason game, you need to go out there and say, okay, I'm good. This works.
You need to have people around your feet. You need to have people, you need to go down, have somebody take you down. You need to fall on that injury to let them know it's going to be okay. But Skip, here's the thing. It's his shoulder. Guess what a quarterback's going to have to do in the game? Throw the football. Guess what he's going to have to do often? So if you have an injury, Skip, that's going to require you to build up in volume of throwing the football, what happens if you irritate it? You send it back. So how do we know? So what? We're just gonna wait till the game. Dak, don't worry about throwing the ball. Just go through the motion, and then come game time, we're gonna have you throw the ball in the game time. Okay. How's that gonna work out, Skip?
I don't know. That's why McCarthy said 2 days ago, hey, we had a game plan in place.